Chrystia Freeland, Justin Trudeau, and the Liberals doubled down after the decision from the federal court ruling that the Emergencies Act was in fact illegal by saying they are going to appeal the decision. Let's get into it.
Oh, yeah!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. If you follow the channel closely, or were at least on the internet yesterday, you'd know about the federal court's decision that the use of the Emergencies Act was found to be unconstitutional, or as I stated yesterday, illegal. Justin Trudeau was also called out, and, well, the reactions online were astounding. Even MPs like Pierre Poilievre had come out saying that, hey, it's unconstitutional. We're going to have our word in the House of Commons about this, and it's going to be interesting to see if this is what's going to lay into the hands of a spring election. What isn't surprising, of course, is that the federal Liberals, mostly Chrystia Freeland and the Minister of Defense, came out to talk about next steps of appealing the process. And while that's laden with a little bit of hypocrisy, we're going to get into that in just one moment after a word from this video's sponsor, Straight Goods Clothing. Huge shout out to this video's sponsor, Straight Goods Clothing. Born from a former police officer of 17 years that left his post due to corruption and political cowardice, Straight Goods has gone on to rally thousands across North America in taking a stand against corruption. This clothing is made by high-quality standards and 100% cotton to ensure absolute satisfaction with your purchase. This Canadian-run company also donates 10% of all profits to help and assist with veterans, and that is why Unacceptable Fringe has locked arms to bring our very own line from the company as well. By purchasing, you're not only supporting a local business, but also helping to assist our veterans. Remember, staying silent and doing nothing only allows for the chaos in this country to continue. By putting on something that's bold and peaceful to make a statement is the only way that we can stand up, and what better way to say it than by donning some straight goods, link below in the description. Now, after the work that was done, when you look at the POEC, when you look at everything that went on there, people had been screaming corruption from day one. Of course, Justice Rouleau was a friend of Justin Trudeau's, and we weren't very surprised when I guess it wasn't really a verdict because it wasn't really like a set court hearing, but when they had come to the conclusion that the Emergencies Act was in favor of the Liberals to enact, nobody was really surprised because of the level of corruption that we see in today's government. But it was a little bit of a shock to see that the federal court had I believe it's a 43-year sitting judge come out to say that they had reviewed the footage and taken some time to look at all the reports, all the paperwork, the POEC itself, and kind of re-examine the situation to find out that Justin Trudeau's invocation of the act was illegal. Now, as I stated at the beginning of this video, Chrystia Freeland had a response right away, of course. Now, the Liberals, as well as the left side of the spectrum, aren't really coping very well since this, of course, was deemed as unconstitutional. But, of course, a very fast press conference, Chrystia Freeland touched on those issues and, of course, their decision to appeal. And let's get into that and then we'll discuss.
It didn't just take issue with the fact that you acted, it took issue with how you acted and how you wrote the regulations you did, including in that PCO memo. There's a warning that the decisions you're taking and how you're writing them were open to constitutional challenge. Looking back, was there a necessary steps you had to take to minimize the constitutional impact of these regulations, and did you do a good job of respecting Canadian civil liberties in writing those regulations? Last question.
Look, I truly do not want to minimize the fact that we took these decisions with a heavy heart. This was not a situation we wanted to find ourselves in, and these were not actions we took with any satisfaction or...
Whoa, hold on. You didn't take these actions with any satisfaction? Correct me if I'm wrong. If anybody followed the Freedom Convoy and the events that took place during the Freedom Convoy, does anybody remember this video? Let's get back to the beginning because the facial expression says it all.
So you're confirming that accounts have been frozen, both personal and corporate, but you're not.
See that smile? You're confirming accounts have been frozen. Look at her cackling like the witch that she is.
So you're confirming that accounts have been frozen, both personal and corporate, but you're not releasing the information. And the actual follow-up is, I'm just wondering
how at the 8-second mark here, she goes to that serious face where she nods her head back and forth and does the little hmm. I'm really listening to you face. Let's start it just one more time, just so we can get a clear understanding that they did this with no level of satisfaction, according to her own words.
So you're confirming that accounts have been frozen, both personal and corporate, but you're not
They were pleased as punch to freeze the accounts of any protester or even people who backed the Freedom Convoy. Many people, especially even in the Alberta area that I'm in touch with today, still telling me that they had a hard time reopening a bank account after the events of the Freedom Convoy from donating to help the truckers. But let's continue with what Freeland had to state on their appeal of the decision.
Relish. This was, however, and I want people to remember that, an extremely tense time. The safety of individual Canadians was under real threat, as Minister LeBlanc has pointed out. Our national security was...
Sorry, folks. I hate cutting off such a worthy human being here. But I know everybody's just so interested in what Chrystia Freeland has to say. But the Canadians were being threatened. I'd really like to hear where bouncy houses and barbecues were threatening Canadian citizens or Canadians' ways of life. Especially if you were to compare that to all the protests that are currently going on in massive city streets like Toronto, with the whether it's the Palestinian or the Israeli protests, the violence against police, which again we've seen videos, and again we'll have other videos this week talking about violence and threats against police where no one is being arrested because, you know, threatening a police officer isn't illegal, I guess, anymore, as long as you're not white in Canada or as long as you're not a truck driver. But Canadians were being threatened. Let's go on to hear what other nonsense she wants to spew.
Under real threat, our national security, including our economic security. That was the reality of that moment.
The only economic security I think they were worried about was their own, and that has to do with the I don't know if it's like a trademark or a patent they have on the mRNAs. We all know that Justin Trudeau's net worth skyrocketed during lockdowns. No matter whether it was invested in medical companies, whether it was invested in other places, whether there was a patent, Justin Trudeau's net worth when he entered into politics was somewhere, I believe, around the $9 million mark. And now Justin Trudeau's worth upwards of $100 million, I believe. I could be wrong. It could be more. Let's continue.
We explored many, many avenues to bring this to an end. This was an option of the last resort.
Again, folks, I apologize. Fair use. I have to do these things. I have to add commentary. Last resort, again, I'm just trying to keep everybody on the same pace here as to where my mind is going, as this is a commentary channel. Wasn't this the first resort that they moved to? Was the Emergencies Act? Or sorry, was the first resort when Justin Trudeau told everybody to go home and no one listened? Because as a last resort, you think that they would have tried negotiating. You think they would have met at the table, like the convoy board had requested multiple times. Don't forget that they had lawyers, they had people acting as middlemen to negotiate, get people to the table. Justin Trudeau wanted to show people that he's not just applying tampons anymore to himself, that he supposedly has a set of cojones down there. And he wanted to make sure that his wife's boyfriend knew just how powerful he was with a show of power. But I don't see this as a last resort. This was kind of like a first or second resort. And let's be honest, again, from day one, The Emergencies Act was discussed in the House of Commons. The idea was floated around by Marco Mendicino very early in the protests. In fact, right around the time that they were screaming about the Terry Fox statue, they were already waving the idea of the Emergencies Act. And, well, that doesn't sound like a last resort to me.
Believed at the time that it was absolutely necessary for us to act, and for us to act in a way that minimized the physical danger to all Canadians. That was
Physical danger to all Canadians, except for the ones that were trampled by horses, beaten with police batons, reporters who were shot with tear gas. I guess they're not Canadian citizens, right? There was no concern for the safety of those Canadians. They're all dirty, unvaxxed citizens.
that was really important to us. We believed we were doing something necessary and something legal at the time. That was our belief then. That was our belief as we testified at length.
It's important to remember that Liberals also believe that men can get pregnant. So that doesn't really speak very far. Look, we've gone over everything, including the cackling witch, but even the defense minister himself came out to talk about how they're going to appeal the decision. Let's take a listen to what he has to say.
In other respects, it finds it was not. Upon reviewing that decision, we obviously reiterate the respect for the judicial process that Minister Freeland has just mentioned, but a fundamental aspect of the judicial process is also proceeding on an appeal. And after that consultation with the Prime Minister, with Cabinet colleagues, we've taken the decision that we will be proceeding on an appeal, as is within our rights within the judicial system.
So again, sorry, it's the Minister of Justice, not Minister of Defense. My apologies. Coming forward to say, yeah, we're going to appeal because we're not happy with what happened. It's within our rights. Again, you know, I've seen many comments from doctors, from multiple forms of government saying, hey, we're past the coof. We're lockdowns are over. You know, we're past all the hubbub. So, you know, it's been 4 years. Why are we still talking about this? Let's just move on. No, we're not going to move on. This was the largest human rights violation probably in the last 150 years on record, we'll say. Aside from what happened in World War II. Again, I say human and civil rights violation based off of this was stuff that happened during wartime. A government oppressing their citizens, stripping away their rights. No, we're going to talk about it. We're going to continue to talk about this. Because every single one of these politicians, every single one of them that voted in favor of this Emergencies Act, every single one of them that gave the okay for people to be stomped on, for people to be beaten, for people's windows to be smashed, vandalized, for bank accounts to be frozen, for people's livelihoods to be taken away, for throwing Tamara in jail, for, ruining Chris Barber's life for the last couple of years, multiple truckers' lives, Pat King's life, the Coots 4. No, we're going to talk about it. What about our rights? What about Canadians' rights that you clearly had no consideration for when making these very tough decisions to protect your bank accounts? So what they're basically stating here is that they're going to buy off a judge. Again, it'll probably be a friend of Trudeau's or somebody who's donated to their foundations or something along those lines, and they'll skate once again. But it's going to be interesting again when the House goes back in to see, now that this has come out, where the Conservatives push at this point, if it's going to help Pierre gain numbers, because let's be honest, every single screw up here by the Liberals is doing nothing but helping Pierre's numbers climb, to the point that the opposition parties are almost eliminated. I believe the last poll that I had seen said that the Conservatives were polling to get 222 seats in the next election. Quite a few. Now, it wasn't just the Liberals who chimed in. Well, Jimmy McJuggernuggets decided to give his 10 cents. Let's take a listen to what he had to say. Boy, do we have something to discuss there. Let's take a look.
From the beginning, we said and we maintain that the reason we were in that crisis was a direct failure of Justin Trudeau's leadership and also other levels of government that failed to act, to take the challenge presented seriously. Their inaction resulted in a serious crisis where we reluctantly supported the invocation of the emergencies measures. We said that was something that we reluctantly supported. And then we also were very open to the Rouleau Commission and the work and the accountability measures to assess whether it was the right decision and what needs to be done differently in the future. The ruling has been passed down. I understand there will be an appeal of that ruling, and we will follow closely to see the outcome of that appeal.
What's really interesting about what this nincompoop has to say is, well, you can kind of see on the screen what Marty up north has said as he posted this tweet. And I'm not going to read that out loud because I try to keep it PG on this channel as much as possible, but he's spot on. Jagmeet Singh, what he's basically doing is fence sitting. He's done this his entire political career. He's saying, hey, don't blame me. I just formed a coalition with the government, and this was the time that we did it because we wanted our seat at the table. We wanted our time to get dental plans and get everything we ever wanted out of the government. He sits there saying, well, we were interested to see what happened with Rouleau, and we're going to wait by and see what happens next. So what? So they can decide which side they want to partner with next to feel like they're getting ahead? Jagmeet Singh is the biggest waste of human skin I have ever seen in my entire life, next to Justin Trudeau. This man is incompetent. He has no place in politics, and he's nothing more than a low-level shill. A greasy car salesman wearing a politician's uniform. This man should be out of a job. Now, if we take a look at the comments coming from his whacked out statement. Yellow-bellied sapsucker, yellow belly. Well, there you go. Okay, well, I got to scroll past that one quick. Yikes. Let me get this straight. If you have a heavy heart and or are reluctant, you can break whatever Canadian laws you want, even the Emergencies Act with impunity. Marty's got it right. Sellout Singh is singing again. Following closely on that ruling, because if the Liberals are held accountable, and you're also part of this problem, you'll lose your pension if there is an early election before 2025. Isn't that what it's all about? I mean, yeah. I mean, this picture, wow, that's a good one. I really like this one. I mean, some of these are good. This is a good way to end off the video and kind of have a laugh. Justin doesn't support the working class. Did you say something about support, Jagmeet? No, sir. I mean, again, that's it in a nutshell. He's in it for his pension. He won't be remembered at all. He's a traitor, both literally and metaphorically. A hungry ghost. Time for Trudeau to resign. Go home, you're drunk, Jagmeet. I mean, just a reminder who voted for the Emergencies Act to be proclaimed. Liberals 158, Conservative 0, Bloc 0, NDP 25, Green Party 1, Independent 1. This tells you why, sorry, I said 222 seats. There aren't 222 seats in the House of Commons. It's over 200. I thought it was over 200. I could be wrong. It's late when I'm filming this video. I apologize, folks. Regardless, it's basically, if there's an election held, Pierre's going to take the majority of the seats. Reluctantly, many people are rightfully concerned that using the Emergencies Act now will mean a crackdown on protests in the future. This is not a protest. It is not peaceful. The organizers of this illegal occupation have been clear from the beginning. They came here to overthrow a democracy-elected government. It is funded by foreign influence. It is fed on disinformation. There's the favorite liberal word. Its goal is to disrupt our democracy. We share the concerns of many Canadians that the government may misuse the powers of the Emergencies Act. So I want to be very clear. I love that he's using Chrystia Freeland's line there. We will be watching, and we will withdraw our support if these powers are misused. I mean, he's quoted Jagmeet perfectly here. Reluctantly indeed. I mean, these far left takes. This is why the internet is such a great place, because accountability is always here. There's always a way to get it back. We can always find the quotes. The internet never forgets. Jagmeet Singh, wow. What a guy. But it's going to be interesting to see again. My more concern, look, we all know where this is going to end. We know what's going to happen. My standpoint on the whole thing is immediately all charges against Chris Barber, Tamara Leach, Pat King, the Coots 4, anybody who's being held based on the invocation of the Emergencies Act and charges that came as a result of the Emergencies Act being invoked should be let off the hook immediately. I think regardless of an appeal, this says it all. This says it all. This three-ring circus. When you look at Tamara Leach's and Chris Barber's court case that's been dragged out date after date after date because the prosecution simply has nothing to argue, their lives are being recklessly torn apart and delayed so that the government can get its kicks, so that Chrystia Freeland can continue smirking and laughing the way that she did in that video. We all know, again, nothing's going to come of it, but it'll be interesting to see how the Conservatives roll with this and what this means with a push for a spring election, especially if, again, the Conservatives continue to insist Justin needs to be accountable for this court ruling, regardless of an appeal. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. What are your thoughts on what's taken place over the last 24 hours? If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. As you're hitting that button, don't forget to click the bell and join us here live on the channel every Sunday for our weekly wrap, where we do our live streams, talk about everything happening in the week prior as well as the week coming ahead, and a little bit of back and forth with the community. You'll want to make sure you have your bells notifications turned on, because I will be doing a live stream in the near future with Tamara Leach as well. As I think time to time, if anything's conflicting with Sundays, we may start going live on some weekdays or adding those to our schedule. So again, make sure you have your bells turned on for notification and join us here. I look forward to hearing what each and every one of you have to say in those chats, and I look forward to seeing you there, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.